I said, do you need anything? Do you need some music?
I said, I'm okay.
You don't need anything to get your juices flowing?
No.
All right. Well, we are recording.
Okay.
Hello, world. I'm Britt.
And I'm Dee.
And welcome to another episode of
It's a Strange World After All.
The podcast. Somebody's going to be like, did y'all rehearse that at all?
First try.
The podcast where we discuss true crime, the supernatural, conspiracy theories, and all of the things that keep the world strange. And I do just want to say thank you to everyone that tuned in for the first episode.
Man, I was so nervous about that.
It was really exciting.
It was.
And the feedback has been phenomenal.
Yes. Thank y'all.
Yes. It's mostly family and friends, but you gotta grow. Take it one day at a time. Because it is Black History Month, we will continue to showcase stories involving Black men and women. This story especially spoke to me when I watched the documentary Unseen. It was yet another example of how too often minorities or certain groups of people are disregarded by society. The people that are put in place to protect us or care for us have a bad habit of downplaying our cries for help. What happens when a town turns their back on those most in need? In today's episode, we look into years of unsolved missing persons cases in a city inundated by poverty, prostitution, and drug addiction, leading to a shocking discovery of a series of rapes and murders. We will be discussing some violent and sexual content in detail, so listener discretion is advised.
Anthony Sowell was born August 19th, 1959, and raised in East Cleveland. Anthony lived with his mother, Claudia Garrison, his maternal grandmother, Irene Justice, and his half-sister, Teresa Garrison. Anthony's 7 cousins moved into the home after their mother died from a chronic illness. His father, Thomas Sowell, was not in the picture. According to Sowell's niece, Leona Davis, Claudia subjected them to constant physical abuse while her own children watched from another room. Electrical extension cords were often used to bind the children and beat them.
I find it so odd because these kids weren't her kids that they abused, that she abused these kids and let her kids watch.
Yeah, just watch. Yeah, that's crazy.
It is crazy. And then did you think about the consequences, like what that would do to your own
own kids, yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's safe to say, no, she did not.
Claudia forced Leona to strip naked in front of the other children, then whipped her with electrical cords until she bled. It is reported that Anthony was never actually beaten, that he watched them happen. So again, yeah, it's weird that you just have him watching them.
And that explains so much. As far as his mindset, getting later on into the episode, we'll talk about it.
About the actions that follow.
Yeah.
Leona admitted that when she turned 10 years old, Sowell would force her to have sex with him on just about a daily basis for 2 years. It was also reported by Davis that the other males in the home also participated in this sexual abuse. She said that she tried to report the rapes to local authorities. However, no one believed her. She is quoted saying, "I don't think the Imperial Avenue murders would have ever happened if somebody would have listened to me." I feel like if someone did some sort of statistic, that rape would probably be the most unreported crime.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I feel like oftentimes women are shamed.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
When they're sexually assaulted, sexually abused, or people have this mentality of victim blaming.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Because you're not going to feel comfortable saying anything, or you're just scared.
That's true. Especially a child. And then she did try to report it, and look what happened. She tried to do the right thing, and look what happened. The authorities failed her.
Failed everybody.
Failed everybody. Y'all just out here failing everybody.
Sowell entered the U.S. Marine Corps in 1978. He was 18. He did not have enough high school credits to graduate. He also got another student at Shaw High School pregnant, so he felt his best option would be to join the Marines.
And I apologize, guys. We were not able to find much about his kid, except that he did have a daughter, which is ironic. And much like his father, Sowell was not a part of her life at all. So I guess that's a good thing that came out of his absence.
Oh, yeah. Do you think she knows?
I want to say in an article that I read, they spoke to the mom and maybe she knows who he is, but she knows that he's not important to her.
Okay.
Like, he really was a non-factor. So even him doing all of this when that came out, it was like, no, we're not attached to him at all.
Good. Sowell married Kim Yvette Lawson in 1981, a fellow Marine. Her mom said that Kim thought Sowell had a drinking problem and wanted to help him. Kim could never get through to Anthony, so they grew distant.
After 7 years of service, he was discharged in 1985. Kim filed for divorce that same year. Anthony returned to his childhood home, and over the course of the next few years, he would continue drinking habitually and building an arrest sheet. Kim passed away in 1998.
On July 22nd, 1989, Anthony convinced Melvette Sockwell, who was 3 months pregnant at the time, to come back to his home. When they get to his upstairs attic, Anthony attacks her. He asked her to strip naked at knife point. Then he bound her hands and feet with a tie and belt. He gagged her with a rag and threatened that if she tried anything, he would kill her. Sowell raped her, then fell asleep.
He's so cocky, and he just fell asleep.
Either that or he was just that high. It's safe to say they were doing the drugs.
Yeah.
So, with Anthony asleep, Melvette used that opportunity to try and escape. She crawled out of the window and got the help of 2 women passing by. Melvette told police that Anthony choked her so hard that she felt her entire body tingling and she thought that she was going to die.
I can't even imagine.
I freeze up in any type of situation, so I can't even.
It's like, what is it? Fight, flight, freeze. That's what it is. Like the way that your body responds.
Oh, yeah. That's how my body responds all the time. So.
I think I would fight, but I'd probably die. Oh. Because I have a terrible mouth, number one.
Yes, you do.
Just talking shit the entire time.
Or he might just let you go because he don't want to deal with it.
I'm sick of it. Go back. Anthony was indicted by a grand jury, but he never showed up for his court date. There was a warrant issued for his arrest on December 8th. June 24th, 1990, another woman reported being raped by Anthony. She was 5 months pregnant. So I know he knew that she was pregnant.
Yeah.
Her report was similar to Melvette's in that she said she was beat, bound, and raped. She escaped after Sowell fell asleep. Again. Anthony Sowell was finally arrested, but he was never charged for that incident because the woman was never found to give her testimony. Sowell was charged with kidnapping and rape in the Melvette case. He eventually pled guilty to the lesser charge of attempted rape and served 15 years in prison.
While in prison, as a part of his sentence, he was supposed to register as a sex offender and attend mandatory counseling sessions. It is reported that he never attended a single session. In an interview with a former prison inmate, Roosevelt Lloyd, he stated that Anthony did not think of himself as a sex offender. He never actually felt like he did anything wrong. He goes on to say that Anthony was a private person and he didn't want people to know his business.
First of all,
sir.
I imagine that he said it like, I'm a private person. I don't want people to know my business. Stayed up about my business. I feel like if you're sexually assaulting all of these women, this is not your business. anymore.
No, it's not.
No.
What is wrong with him?
You made it my business.
Some people are just delusional.
Yeah,
so
he's definitely delusional. There you go. There's your one for the episode. He's definitely delusional.
Anthony Sowell was released from prison in 2005 and labeled low risk for reoffending.
Ow! He never attended the main thing that he went to prison.
He didn't do anything. Like, what sense does that make? It makes no sense.
Oh.
Whatever.
It's stupid.
He moved to 12205 Imperial Avenue in East Cleveland, Ohio, with his late father's widow, Sojourner Sowell.
Sojourner was really ill at the time. In my research, I found that she moved into a nursing home at some point between 2005 and 2009. She passed away on December 19th, 2009.
Anthony appeared to be getting his life back on track. He was sober, employed, and started dating. Ooh, okay, hold on.
I thought you were going to say it. Say how you feel.
Oh, about his looks. I forgot all about that. He looks like the fish from SpongeBob that had the pickles under his tongue. No pickles. I completely forgot about that. Lori Frazier, who was the
You can do it. Get the fish out of your mind.
That's all I see now.
And there's my wallet. And Anthony Sowell's mouth.
Lori Frazier, who was the estranged niece of Cleveland Mayor Frank G. Jackson, began a relationship with Sowell shortly after his release from prison in 2005. Lori moved into his home after about a few weeks.
Lori wasn't playing no games. That's an intense thing to do, even if someone doesn't have his rap sheet.
Yeah.
But I don't know if she knew. One morning in 2007, Anthony suffered from a heart attack while riding on the bus. He had to have a pacemaker surgically implanted in his chest. Because of his continuous health issues, Anthony was soon terminated from the Custom Rubber Corporation where he worked. It is reported that after this, he took to excessive drinking and smoking crack cocaine regularly. In an interview with Asad Tayi,
yes.
Ooh. I know words or big words. Asad Tayi, the owner of a nearby convenience store, Imperial Beverage, he recalls that Anthony seemed like a nice, high-class guy.
You say it like
I feel like that's how you say someone's nice, high-class. Like, what do you think about Anthony Sowell? He was a nice, high-class kind of guy.
You sound like the nanny.
Was it not effective? You guys tell me what you think. He was a nice, high-class kind of guy. Why don't you come and see me sometime, Anthony?
Ew.
He was a nice, high-class guy when he initially moved into the neighborhood. However, after Anthony lost his job, he noticed a drastic change in Anthony's outward appearance and mannerisms. He knew he was abusing drugs.
September 22nd, 2009, Anthony sees LaTundra Billups outside of the convenience store. She noticed he was carrying beer and asked if she could have a drink with him. She had been to the house several times before, so she didn't see him as a threat. She did note that this was the first time that they did not go up to the second floor where his apartment was. But his excuse was that it was too dirty. Sometime during the night, Anthony asked her to turn around, and she obeyed him. When she went back to face him, he punched her in the face, ripped her shirt, and made her lay on the ground. He choked her with a cut extension cord until she became unconscious.
And you'll notice that this is the same type of abuse he experienced happening to his cousins when he was a child. LaTundra woke up and saw Anthony sitting in front of her in a chair. She said she felt wet, and she immediately knew she had been raped. Anthony threatened to kill LaTundra and himself. She tells him that she did not remember anything strange happening and convinces him to go to sleep with her. She pretended to sleep through the night. The next morning, Latundra reassures him that she would never tell anyone anything about what happened because there was nothing to tell. Nothing happened. He decides to let her go. Latundra walked out of Anthony's home, down the street, and as soon as she turned the corner, she ran straight to the hospital for a rape kit. Latundra also filed a police report, but 3 weeks would pass before a detective followed up with her.
It doesn't surprise me that it took 3 weeks. I mean, it's a Black woman.
And she's what people call a crackhead. Yeah, she's a crackhead in the community.
That's what the people call it.
Yeah, and she was big in the community. Even, what's his name? Assad, the store owner, knew her. He called her Lala and knew that she was a crackhead, knew her kids. So
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
On October 29th, 2009, the local authorities visit Anthony's house with an arrest warrant for her rape. Anthony is nowhere to be found. They notice the foul smell throughout the house and discover 4 decomposing bodies in a crawl space on the 3rd floor of his home. Jesus.
That's so much.
They find another 2 bodies in the basement along with a human skull.
And they just went there with their warrant.
Yeah.
For
what is going through their mind? Because they just went there with a warrant. Right. Yeah.
And then you find this gold mine of all of those bodies. It's so unexpected.
On October 30th, they did a full search of the house and the yard. They find 5 more bodies buried in shallow graves in the backyard, bringing the total body count to 11. Even after discovering the bodies, police were unable to identify the remains. There was a $12,000 reward set for his arrest.
I feel like $12. $12.
Yeah,
if it was $12, somebody's like, I found him. Run me my stacks. Run me my $12. I was just going to say I felt like $12,000 wasn't a lot. Was what I was going
to. It's not.
It didn't feel like a lot.
Yeah.
For 3 years, women in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood had been disappearing. But until the bodies were found, the 11 victims' disappearances had not been thoroughly investigated by police.
No surprise there.
Not at all. Anthony Sowell was taken into custody on October 31st, 2009. He was found sleeping in an abandoned home near his residence. Anthony claimed that he thought the murders were only bad dreams, but he agreed to cooperate with the local authorities in helping them to identify who these women were. At the time of his arrest, Sowell was 50 years old. He was held on a $5 million bond.
That is a lot.
It is a lot in comparison to that $12, to that $12,000 that was like his bounty.
Yeah. 2 weeks before his arrest, CCTV footage captured a woman by the name of Shawn Morris falling from the 2nd-story window of Sowell's home. Shawn Morris met Anthony on October 20th, 2009. She is invited back to his home to smoke crack cocaine with him. Anthony lets her inside, and when she goes up the steps, Anthony puts her in a chokehold. He threatened that if she tried to scream or escape, that he would kill her.
While Anthony was attempting to close all of the windows, Shawn escaped by jumping out of a window on the 2nd floor. A man saw her fall from the 2nd-story window and called for an ambulance. A group formed to see what happened, and Anthony told them that he and Shawn were just having sex, and she fell out of the window.
Are they having sex, like, on the window? Is that what he means?
I don't know what he meant. I'm assuming he just meant...
Or like they were in the window and she just fell out?
Yeah, maybe he meant they were standing in front of a window. I don't know the layout of his room. I don't even know that he had a bed now that I think about it. It was the definition of a trap house.
Oh, yeah. I don't think he had a bed.
So, yeah, maybe he was saying they were in front of the window.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, kinda.
All of it is still sus. All of it still sounds suspect, especially to this man. So the man is like, no, we're going to call the ambulance. I'll wait with her. You can do whatever it is you need to do.
Get dressed.
Get dressed.
Please.
The video for this is insane. If you do nothing else, well, for one, try to watch that documentary, the Unseen documentary.
It's actually a good documentary. It's just like some of it is kind of hard to listen to.
Yeah. But if you do nothing else, you have to find that clip, which they do put in the documentary, of her falling from the window naked, and then him coming down completely naked and trying to like convince her, like, oh, come
trying to bring her back in the house. Like, it was disturbing.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, the way she just jumped, because it doesn't look like she fell. That's my thing. It doesn't look like she fell. It looked like she just jumped out.
Yeah.
So for him to say that she just fell, that wasn't a fall. Watch the documentary.
Yes.
Is it on Amazon Prime?
Yes, it is on Amazon Prime. Sean woke up in the hospital and asks to call her husband. They tell her that her husband isn't there at the hospital with her and that he rode in the ambulance with her. Who do you think her husband was? It was, if you said Anthony Sowell, ding, ding,
you are correct.
It was Anthony Sowell. The way Sean tells it is that she was terrified. Yeah. And I don't think she thought that people would believe her story anyway. Like,
and then I think she didn't want it to get back to her husband.
Yes.
So, yeah, she probably lied about that.
Yeah. So she ends up lying to the officers and tells them that she was partying with Anthony and she fell out of a window. So Sean doesn't press charges and the authorities took her word for it. They didn't do any further investigating.
Records of missing persons dating back to Sowell's June 2005 release from prison were searched and DNA testing was conducted on the bodies found at Sowell's home. Protesters holding posters of missing loved ones gathered outside of his home at the time.
Correct me if I'm wrong, they were standing out there in the hopes that the bodies that they found could possibly be their loved ones. So they weren't even sure, so they're just standing there.
Yeah, they didn't know.
Couldn't imagine.
East Cleveland police also reopened several cold cases from the late 1980s. The murders by strangulation used a similar MO and stopped around 1989, the same time that Sowell was arrested. The FBI began gathering information to see if Sowell may have been linked to unsolved cases in cities where he once lived.
So he could have possibly been doing this for a while. Yeah. So his body count could be a lot higher than 11.
And it sounds like it could be.
It's plausible. Most of Anthony Sowell's victims were killed by manual strangulation, and others were gagged or had ligatures on their bodies when they were discovered. Sowell had at least 3 more rape victims that he let live. All 3 never reported the attacks due to their prior drug history or other personal reasons. Many victims were lured to his home with an invitation to smoke crack with him. He was a known drug user throughout the neighborhood. He's a predator. I was just going to say he's the epitome of a predator. He preyed on these women, saw that they were addicted to drugs, gave them what they wanted, brought them back to his home, and then attacked them.
Yeah. It's just sick.
It is sick.
I've always wanted to know, like, what goes on in their heads. Like, what makes them think like that.
Yeah.
In the documentary Unseen, Assad, the convenience store owner, says he wishes there were 1 million Anthony Sowells because he cleaned up the garbage. Assad, in my opinion, is obviously bitter because his brother was murdered by a drug addict. Just because these women were sex workers and drug addicts does not mean that they deserve to die.
At all.
So, yeah, Anthony. Anthony
too. Garbage
Anthony
too.
And Assad, they're both garbage.
Garbage.
On November 5th, 2009, 2 of the 11 victims were identified. The first to be identified was Tonya Carmichael, a 53-year-old woman who disappeared more than a year earlier. Her mother reported her missing in December of 2008. Her family believes that the police did not actively pursue her disappearance because of her history with drug use. Her body was buried in Anthony Sowell's backyard and was identified through DNA evidence. Her cause of death was strangulation.
The second victim was identified as Talisha Fortson, a 31-year-old mother of 3 who had disappeared 5 months earlier. Although she had been missing since June, her mother did not file a missing persons report until she heard the news coverage about the dead bodies at Sowell's home.
On November 8th, 2009, 3 more bodies were identified. One was Crystal Dozier, a 38-year-old woman who went missing in May of 2007. Dozier, the mother of 7 children, lived in the area where her body was discovered. Crystal struggled with drug addiction and would frequently hang out with Sowell smoking crack cocaine. Anthony Dozier, her son, says that her drug addiction was so bad that they never had any money. He stated there would be times when he and his sister ate only tablespoons of peanut butter for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
That's really sad.
That is.
There is a documentary on Netflix, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
You might have seen it. It's about the whole crack epidemic. Yeah.
I don't know if I saw that one yet.
I can't think of the name, so if this stays in the show, if I'm not wrong, because I know it's about the crack epidemic in like the 80s and 90s, which that'd still be beneficial watching like how it ravished Black communities.
Yeah.
But it's really good. That just made me think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's another documentary. I saw it on YouTube. It's about the crack epidemic, but it's in Dallas. And it's in South Dallas.
Okay.
And it was interesting. Okay. I think it took place in like the 80s. Yeah, in the 80s. Okay.
And we're in Dallas. Have we ever said that? We're in Dallas, Texas. Yeah. That's why.
We're from Dallas. We eat Rudy's.
Go to Big T on Sunday to catch cuties. In the Unseen documentary, her son says that he talked to Crystal the day before Mother's Day, and that was the last day he'd ever heard from her. He filed a police report, but the authorities told him that because she was an adult, there was not much they could do for him. The authorities told him that adults have the right to go missing.
No, I just wanted to say that I don't know if it's true, I heard that you can file a missing persons report whenever you want to. You don't have to wait 24 hours or 48 hours?
Yeah.
Even if they're adults, you can file it whenever you want to. Is that true?
I think that is true. What case was it where they filed a missing persons report like the day of or something?
Yeah,
Adnan
Saeed.
They filed Haley's like that same day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they just tell you that, but you just have to be like persistent
about it.
Yeah.
Also, this was not the first time Crystal had gone missing. It was not uncommon for drug addicts to go missing for days on end, but they always returned home. Crystal's family looked everywhere in the Mount Pleasant area for her. They even put up missing person flyers around the neighborhood.
Remember Lori Frazier? She was living with him after he murdered Crystal. After Crystal's death, Anthony dumped her body on the property, and Lori, along with others living in the neighborhood, began to smell the foul stench of her decaying body. They believed the smell was coming from Ray's sausage shop located next door to Sowell's home.
Have you ever smelled a decaying body?
No, and I don't want to.
Well, I just don't understand how they assumed that
I'm pretty sure. Oh, because that wouldn't, to me... Does bad meat have the same smell as a decaying body?
I don't know.
I've smelled like bad, yes, because I worked in a deli.
Oh yeah, you gotta explain some bad meat.
So I worked in a deli, so I know the smell, and it's bad. So it may be similar. I've never smelled a decaying body, but yeah, I done smelled some bad meat.
I done smelled some bad meat. Summer of 2008, Anthony's house reeked from the smell of bodies. On a hot day in June, the Imperial beverage store owner and one of his employees discovered a foul smell they believed to be coming from the dumpster. It is reported that the entire corner reeked.
Cleveland health inspectors required thousands of dollars worth of modifications to the factory's waste system, but the smell remained. The stench got so bad that Lori began to slowly move her belongings out of the house. It is not clear exactly when Lori Frazier stopped living with Sowell. In later interviews, She said that she moved out in 2007. Another source says that it was 2008.
Lori said, I ain't with it.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
No, but I wonder if she had any idea what Anthony was up to. Did she know?
That's a good question because, like, it depends on how much she was at home. Because how could you not know?
Especially with, again, you've never smelled a decaying body. Hopefully none of you have smelled a decaying body.
Oh, yeah.
But you know that something is wrong. The house is a mess. They say his behavior didn't change much other than, like,
the crackhead stuff.
Crackhead stuff.
Maybe she didn't know. I just find that a little hard to believe.
In a lot of these cases, you see that a woman lives in a woman, wife, somebody's mom lives in the house, and they have no idea.
That's true, but how do you not know?
You know, you just didn't want to know. Not unless she was on drugs too, which she probably was.
Oh, possibly.
Yeah. The second woman identified was Amilda Amy Hunter, a 47-year-old woman who was a beautician and a mother of 3. She didn't live in the area where her body was found, but she visited frequently. A previous injury left her unable to use one of her arms. In April 2009, Anthony invited Amy back to his house to smoke crack cocaine. He strangled her with her purse strap and buried her in his backyard. Sources say that Amy's brother had often dropped her off in Anthony's neighborhood and that she would drink beer with him at his house often. Her family didn't report her missing until after police began removing bodies from Sowell's home. So that sounds like a trend.
Yeah. The third was Michelle Mason, a 45-year-old woman who was last seen in October 2008. She was also a drug addict and was invited back to Anthony's with a promise of crack. He strangled her and left her body in his home. She lived in the area where her body was found. According to records, the police conducted a full investigation when her family reported her missing. But her family felt like the police never took the investigation seriously due to Michelle's arrest record.
Another body was identified as Tashana Culver, a beautician who lived at only a few houses away from Anthony and went missing in June 2008. The mother of 4 was 31 when she was murdered.
Authorities also identify LaShanda Long. She was killed in August 2008. She was 25. It is reported that Anthony killed her and dumped her severed head in the basement of his home. Jesus.
Yeah, that's somebody's daughter. Whether she'd been addicted to drugs, a prostitute, whatever, that's somebody's daughter.
Yeah, she didn't deserve that. None of them deserved it.
No. He just didn't care about them and the way he just discarded them in his house. Like, he was careless with that too. There was no, like, some serial killers have, Dexter's not a real serial killer, but he has a code. Like, he has a code that he sticks to, and he's meticulous. Like, some serial killers take care of their victims.
Yeah.
Not Anthony.
He did not care.
No.
He was trash. Like all killers. Don't put that in there.
Put it on a t-shirt. All killers are trash. Sometime between December 2008 and early 2009, Anthony spotted Gladys Wade at a nearby bus stop. I apologize because the exact date is unclear. The Unseen documentary has 2009, and some articles we found have a 2008 date. So just keep that in mind. It's somewhere between 2008 and 2009. Anthony invites her back to his place to have a drink with him, and she rightfully declines.
Smart.
Anthony attacked her right there at the bus stop and brought her back to his home. Gladys fought Anthony off and broke through a glass door. She ran into a nearby pizza shop and begged them to call the police. This is another example of just how confident he's gotten.
Because he did it out in the open.
Out in the open. You probably could have gotten someone else to come back with you.
Yeah.
But I feel like her declining enraged him. And he was like,
I can see that. Yeah.
I'm about to show you, girl, right here at this bus stop. Was what?
Yeah, I could see that.
Gladys fought Anthony off and broke through a glass door. She ran into a nearby pizza shop and begged them to call the police because she had just been attacked. The owner told her to leave because she was getting blood everywhere. As she left the shop, she recalled that everyone laughed at her instead of helping her.
That's stupid. They ought to be ashamed.
They should be ashamed of herself. That pizza shop owner should be ashamed of himself.
Gladys found 2 police officers and rode to the police station to file a police report. One of the officers explained that Anthony had previously spent 15 years in jail for sexual assault. When the police questioned Anthony about the incident, he told them that Gladys was trying to rob him. That is why he attacked her. Okay, Anthony.
Why? Why the heck you lying?
The authorities decided that it was pretty much Gladys's word versus Anthony's, and that there was not enough evidence to hold him.
Stupid. That's all I'm going to say. You think I can't get it out. You I'm so passionate. You would think, given his history, that they would say, "Oh yeah, you spent 15 years in jail for this." She's probably right.
Not only that, when she was telling them, she was covered in blood. How do you overlook that?
They got into a tussle about whatever she was trying to take from him.
Okay, whatever. Anyway.
They just didn't care. They just did not care. It was her word against his.
Even though she's the one that's injured, but okay. Anthony Sowell went on to murder 6 more women after this.
That's on those local, where is this at, Cleveland?
Mm-hmm.
That's on y'all. If y'all happen to be listening to this episode, that is on you guys. That should never happen.
Yeah.
Nancy Cobb, a mother to 4 children, went missing in April 2009. She was 43 at the time. She was officially reported missing on November 2nd, 2009 to Cleveland police. What is sad about Nancy's death is that it could have possibly been avoided. On April 21st, a friend of hers, Tanya Doss, is partying with Anthony at his home. He attacked Tanya, putting her in a chokehold and forced her to lay naked with him. She convinces Anthony to let her go. Tanya runs straight to Nancy Cobb's house and explains what Anthony did to her. Nancy does not believe that he is capable of doing something like this, so she just dismisses what Tanya tells her and meets her fate.
Janice Webb, age 49, was last seen in June 2009. Her family reported her missing in August. Webb had 1 child and 3 grandchildren. Sources report that she was choked by Sowell with a belt.
Kim Yvette Smith, age 44, was reported missing in November of 2009. It is recorded that she was killed by Anthony in June 2009. He buried her in the backyard.
Anthony's final murder victim was Diane Turner, a 38-year-old mother. She was killed in September 2009. Her disappearance was never reported to authorities. Therefore, her identity remained a mystery until her daughter supplied DNA to Cleveland police, and it was a match.
Sowell's trial began on June 6, 2011. He was charged with 11 counts of aggravated murder and 74 counts of rape, kidnapping, tampering with evidence, and abuse of a corpse. He pled not guilty by reason of insanity, but later changed his plea to not guilty. Anthony Sowell's conviction weighed heavily on witness testimony from Vanessa Gay. This is because she was the only person that could directly link Anthony to the bodies of the victims.
September 2008, Anthony meets 35-year-old Vanessa Gay when he rode by on his bike.
Bicycle.
And saw her standing at the bank alone. He told her that it was his birthday and he had no one to celebrate with. She felt bad for him, thinking that no one should be alone on their birthday. So she decided to go celebrate with him in his home.
She probably also felt bad because he rolled by on his bicycle. I just imagine him doing like tricks. Hey girl, you want to come?
Oh my God.
Back to the crib. Popping wheelies. Vanessa remembered different people speaking to Anthony on the street. She said that made her feel a little bit better about going home with a stranger. He couldn't be a bad person if people were friendly with him. That feeling soon fades as they approach Anthony's home. She said there was an eerie feeling when she approached the inside of Anthony's home.
As they prepare to smoke, he immediately attacks her and tells her to take off her clothes. Anthony tells her that because women had taken advantage of him throughout his life, he would continue to take advantage of them. He saw women as second class, so she was getting what she deserved. He repeatedly raped and beat her throughout the night.
The next day, she asked for permission to use the bathroom. As she approached the bathroom, Vanessa noticed plastic on the floor in a crawl space to the left of the bathroom. She soon realized that there was a dead body stuffed inside the plastic, and she could tell that the head had been removed. Vanessa pretended that everything was okay. She assures Anthony that she did not see anything and that they were both just having a good time. He told her she was not like the others and he chose to let her go.
She said they walked arm in arm to the front door. She was afraid that he would attack her again if he walked behind her. She recalls her appearance being completely disheveled from the attack. However, once she got outside, absolutely no one helped her. They all just silently watched and some even laughed at her. She went to a nearby friend's house and tried to file a police report over the phone. They told her she needed to come in, that she could not complete a police report over the phone. She decided to let it go.
Just so discouraging.
Yeah.
That's so discouraging. Like, imagine being attacked, coming outside. It's clear that you've been attacked. The community that you call your home does not help you. They laugh at you. And then when you attempt to file a police report, you can't even do that. They're telling you.
Yeah, it's like they're making it difficult for her. Because, but I filed a police report over the phone. So, it's possible. But I feel like they were making it hard for her on purpose.
Yeah.
That's just how I feel about it.
Yeah. The only thing I could see is if they were saying, hey, we need you to come in so you can do a rape kit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah. Months after Anthony Sowell was charged, Vanessa Gay was arrested for missing a meeting with her probation officer. She had a prior drug conviction. When she was questioned about why she missed her meeting, she completely breaks down in front of a county judge and tells him about her run-in with Anthony.
Shortly after, Cleveland police homicide detectives interviewed Vanessa about what she shared in court. This would ultimately be the same testimony that determined Anthony's sentencing fate. There is a quote that was taken from Vanessa Gay that I read on the cleveland.com website, and it reads, "One life is not worth less than another life just because of what they are doing or the color of their skin. Vanessa says life is precious. Life is valuable."
On July 22nd, 2011, Sowell was convicted on all but 2 counts against him, including the murders of the 11 women whose bodies were found in his home in 2009. On August 10th, jurors recommended the death penalty for Sowell. On August 12th, Judge Dick Ambrose upheld the jury's recommendation. Since September 14th, 2011, Sowell resided on death row at Chillicothe Correctional Institution.
When I was listening to the podcast True Crime all of the time, they actually played a clip of Anthony after he got his sentencing. So he's standing up in front of the courtroom and he basically apologizes for all of the crimes that he's committed. He told them that he was sorry from the bottom of his heart and that he had no idea what happened. He also said that his behavior, that behavior was not like him at all. That was unlike him.
So I didn't hear the clip yet, but do you feel like he was sincere? I feel like it was more of his environment, that he grew up in, so he basically didn't have a chance. That was brought up to him as being normal because he watched his mom beat his cousin.
I see what you're saying.
But he was still wrong for what he did. He should still know right from wrong.
Childhood trauma. His childhood trauma came into play with the seeing abuse and then giving abuse. Yeah, that's true.
Because it was the same type of abuse.
It was the exact same type of abuse, exact same weapons. I mean, I don't know. It was just, again, it was weird. it felt like he was sorry, but then it also felt, again, like he was disoriented. Like he didn't...
He wasn't there. Like he wasn't all the way there.
Here, hold on.
The only thing I want to say is that I'm sorry. I know that might not sound like much, but I truly am sorry from the bottom of my heart. This is not typical of me. I don't know what happened. I can't explain it. But I know it's not a lot, but that's all I can give you.
Okay, and we stopped to let Dee listen to the clip. So what did you think?
His apology, it was short. It was a little bit of emotion, but I wasn't convinced.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there was remorse. It was just like he was like, oh, I'm sorry.
Which, how do you apologize for being a serial killer? It felt almost immature, or it felt almost elementary to what...
Like he was forced.
See, I don't think
it's hard. His apology is hard to read. Like, because you just don't know. Because you're listening to it, you're not looking at his face.
That's true. It could have been rehearsed, because I said he sounded emotional because his voice was shaky. But now that I think about it, he could have also been nervous if it was something that was rehearsed. But at this point, you've been convicted. You're now on death row. What is there that you think you could say that you... Like, I don't think anyone could force you into saying anything because your fate is sealed.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is now. You can't do anything about it.
He said, and that's all I got. I apologize for killing all of these people, for ruining families, for taking moms away from children and children away from moms. That's all I got. Was pretty much what he said.
Basically. After Sowell's conviction in December 2011, Sowell's former residence at 12205 Imperial Avenue was demolished on the orders of city leaders.
On February 8th, 2021, Anthony Sowell died.
He died.
That's the end of the episode. He just died. No. Anthony Sowell died in an end-of-life care unit at the Ohio Prison System's Franklin Medical Center in Columbus. He had a terminal illness that was not related to COVID. Anthony Sowell was 61 years old.
That's how it ends.
Is the story of Anthony Sowell.
My thoughts on this whole case is it could have been avoided, because how would they determine that he was no longer a risk?
From that first...
Let me get my words together.
You're saying from the
first time he got arrested for rape.
Yeah, how did they determine that he
wasn't a risk? If he wasn't going to the sex offender classes, whatever they got to do.
Not a single one. Sex offenders class. Not a single one.
And believe the victims. If they would have believed at least one of them, they could have stopped it. Because it's not like they're reporting it and they don't know who their attacker is. They know. They're telling you, this man did this to me, and y'all are brushing it off. So those are my thoughts.
And it was his word against all of these women's words. All these women! All these women's words. So, yeah, I agree. It definitely could have been avoided. It's a sad case, again, of how people of color, Black people, are just disregarded by society. We're not taken seriously in the medical field, with the police. Yeah, it definitely could have been avoided. Just in general.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you get the chance, please watch that Unseen documentary.
Yes, it's really good.
It's really good. And all of the women, their stories matter.
Please follow us on Instagram at It's a Strange World Podcast and on Twitter at Pod Strange World. We would love to hear what you guys think about this case.
Any suggestions on cases or strange phenomena, supernatural, UFOs, anything you would like to hear from us.
Conspiracy theories.
Urban legends.
All that good stuff.
All that strange shit. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, Mom. Just let us know and we will be happy to oblige. Thank you again for listening. We have been your host, Britt.
and Dee.
Thank you for keeping
it strange with us.